Hey guys, welcome to the Tactical Baby Gear Podcast. I'm your host, Beav Brody, and in this episode, which is episode number 3, by the way, Alex and I discuss our Easter weekend, vacationing, and road trips with kids, and I have a follow-up on the story from my daughter with the little death threat incident at the school. So make sure you listen to that at the end. And then somewhere in the middle of that, we've got some pro tips for you as well with traveling with your kids. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And all right, so we're live. What's up, dude? How's it going?
It is going great.
It's Monday.
It's Monday, and I love Mondays. Not like most people. I absolutely love Mondays.
I'm super pumped to be back in the office. I've been... the listeners don't know. Actually, if you follow on Instagram, I was in Disney World in Orlando for the past week on spring break vacation with the kids. That was exciting. And then we jumped directly into Easter. And so that meant no more work still for Beaver. And so I'm excited to be here. Yeah. I like to work. So.
Well, we'll talk about vacation. What did you do for Easter?
Easter. I came into the office for a few minutes on Saturday. I brought the kids in here Saturday. Kendall has an ear infection, so Easter was kind of let me back up and answer your question. Easter was good. So Easter was fine. It was great. We went to church in the morning, saw some family, and did all that kind of stuff. Easter stuff. The kids enjoyed that, and then rushed home, and we had a bunch of people over to our house. In the afternoon, we did a second Easter egg hunt. We did a first Easter egg hunt first thing in the morning, Sunday morning. If your kids are listening right now, you cover their earmuffs. I hate when adults talk about things that could potentially ruin the magic of a holiday in front of kids. Nothing pisses me off more than, did you hide all the Easter eggs? Or did you set out all the presents under the Christmas tree last night? And things like that. It's like, no, I didn't hide the Easter eggs. The Easter bunny did. It's like, come on. And things like that. My kids are sitting there looking at me, waiting for me to answer. And I'm like, of course, the Easter bunny hid the eggs.
That is an interesting dynamic that I've slowly getting into because my kids, 3 and almost 3 and 1, haven't quite connected enough dots yet, but obviously your kids being older, how do you handle that when someone's, again, earmuffs to kids listening, if we talk about Santa Claus and they tell their kids, I'm not going to tell them fairy tales, let's call it, and you're like, no, I want they're kids, let them have fun, it's no harm, you're not, I've always heard the argument don't lie to your kids about made up, whatever,
right.
But it's it's childhood memories. You're not not lying to them about where daddy went. Something that's a little more meaningful. How have you handled that with your kids getting to that age where some other parent could basically ruin it for them?
Yeah. Well, there's so many inconsistencies from how one family does it to another. You know what I mean? So, and not that there needs to be, but it definitely makes it more challenging of a parent when your kid's in first grade, second grade, and they're talking to the other kids in class and oh, Santa did this, and it's well, Santa didn't do that for me, and then they start asking questions, and how come this, and how come that, and, so-and-so, Cameron lost a tooth, actually here on Saturday. Right, yeah. We were doing some work, and she was coloring on the board over here, and she was like, Daddy, my tooth fell out. So, anyways, she was saying that, oh, yeah, the tooth fairy leaves glitter all over the place. I'm like, she does? Well, yeah, that's what so-and-so said. I'm like, oh, of course she does.
Well, so she does it in my house because
right.
we like to
so there's just inconsistency. So
it's elf on the shelf for us. So we put the elf on a shelf, and he stayed there because my kids were 2.
Right.
And Daddy and Mommy did not want to move the elf for a 2-year-old because they forgot about the elf.
Right.
But the older neighborhood kid come over and they love my kids, and they're like, oh,
Elfie hasn't moved.
Elf hasn't moved. I was like, yeah, he got hurt, and he's waiting for Santa's helpers to come help him tonight.
Yeah, and you just have to make crap up.
Because then I'm like, well, I don't know how far. again, she started getting at that age too, where like maybe she knows, maybe she doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't want to just kind of.
Well, and the other thing too that's so, and not to get completely off on a tangent here from what we were talking about, but
We're
it's just
talking about Easter bunnies. So.
yeah. Well, and it's just like it really pisses me off because I feel like you have such a limited time in your kid's life to have like the magic of these.
Like pure imagination, like,
right, where it's like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and all these, like, you only get that for so long, and it's kind of a neat thing to be able to do and to kind of like have this magic power for your kids that like, oh my gosh. And it's something to hold over their head when they're bad. Like Santa Claus is watching you. The Easter Bunny's not going to come. Like, you got to leverage it if you can. But anyways, it just pisses me off when like parents or other people and some people that just don't have kids don't realize that they're like ruining it by saying certain things. Yeah. But really what pisses me off are like the other kids at school that ruin it. Certain things, or like the girl at school that has a 15-year-old brother or something, and they're like, Santa Claus ain't real, and then she's like going around telling everybody at school that Santa Claus ain't real. Yeah, that's just life, and it is what it is. But as a parent, when you like try so hard to make it like this magical thing, and then some little brat ruins it, like choke them out. So
hopefully not after church.
So anyways, church was awesome. We hunted Easter eggs. And then we came home, had a bunch of people over, hunted more Easter eggs. I might have consumed a couple beers.
What do you put in the Easter eggs?
That'd be a better question for the Easter Bunny, Alex.
Well played.
No, Brandy does a good job. Different candies. Yeah, you might find $1 or $2 in some, a couple quarters in another.
Do you have like a special golden egg?
Yeah, this year we had a Target gift card in one apparently. Kids, my kids are a little older. They like to go shopping and buy toys. So there was a little Target gift card. Kendall had $1 yesterday. She was super proud of it. I kept trying to steal it from her.
Well, you got to keep them. You got to remind them who the parent is.
Yeah, I was like, well, you said you were going to pay me back for that toy I bought you at Disney.
Boom.
She's like, no.
Life lessons right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
can't keep writing IOUs.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that was Easter for us. Oh, and then so it wasn't Easter for us. We did the Easter egg hunt. We hung out. We had outside hangout stuff, and then we went to my grandparents' house and a bunch of family there, and we did Easter 3 times yesterday. It's not like Christmas for us too. We're just like constantly all over the place on these holidays, and I've gotten to the point finally where I'm just like, listen, I'm not coming to your place, your house, your get together, your anything. Like, my kids want to stay home and play with their toys on Christmas. My kids want to play with, I just want us to hang out at home. I don't want to drive all over the place.
You almost like lose some of the fun out of it.
And the excitement and the relaxation of like holiday weekends because you got to go everywhere. So, anyways.
I wouldn't know. I don't have friends, so I wouldn't know. I don't get invited places.
And when you do, you turn it down because you're not a flexible But before that, so we had just gotten home from Orlando too. So that was like a long week, vacation directly into this holiday weekend, and then having people over and all that kind of stuff. But
I mean, was it relaxing or like, so what's it like traveling with your kids and your family?
Traveling with my kids. That's a loaded question. My kids we've been traveling a lot with the kids since they were little. Usually car trips. Cameron's been on an airplane once. We went to Ohio, but usually road trips, and they have to drag everything they own into the car, like every time we leave the house. So it's very frustrating because I'm like, most of my life is controlled chaos, but there's a lot of things I'm just like completely OCD about, and having the car nice and neat and organized is one of them, especially when I'm going to be driving for 5 hours. And I'm like, no, like everything's got a place. And so we limit it on these road trips to like, listen, you got your day pack mini, whatever you can fit in that is like the ancillary toy stuff you're bringing. And
entertainment package.
Exactly. And the day pack mini is deceiving. It looks small, but it's so big. It carries so much stuff. It's because like by the time I stop for gas for the first time, or like 5 minutes down the road when everyone has to pee because they didn't have to pee at home and now they have to pee, and you like still haven't even made it to the interstate, and you get out and you're like, how did all that stuff fit in your bag? And it's all over the cart already. So that's a synopsis of how that goes. But we have a time limit, so traveling with kids is, we get about a 4.5 hour radius from home of where I feel comfortable driving with the kids before I want to like throw them out the window.
Right.
So for us being in Hilton Head, South Carolina, that's like Charlotte, Atlanta, Orlando type cities, and Orlando just has the most to offer with young kids and having resort hotels with fun pools and Disney World and Ferris wheels and a bunch of activities for kids versus like Atlanta or Charlotte or something. So we tend to go to Orlando quite a bit and hit up Disney World. So it was cool. It was fun. We have our favorite hotel in the world that we go to all the time in Orlando, the Hilton Bonnet Creek. It's like the best bang for the buck. It's really not expensive at all. And then they've got this super awesome pool, lazy river, 0 entry for little kids. Yeah. Like the whole thing is like the deepest part of it's like 4 feet.
Well, that's always been the challenge for like my kids. We haven't been traveling as much, now that they're getting to that stage like they're going to want to. But it was always like, what do you got to, like, I got to bring so much stuff, especially when they're an infant. And then when they get to be like older, it's like you still have a lot of stuff to travel, but then you're like, what's the pool like? What's the environment
there's
like?
Always crap.
How am I gonna make sure that they stay safe while everyone's trying to have fun and balancing? Obviously, that
we had to balance that. So this time around, the kids are finally old enough where we feel comfortable with them just like playing in the pool on their own without having to be in there with them and stuff like that. So knowing that we were trying to relax at the same time, Brady and I kind of took shifts. Like, listen, you keep an eye on them for a while so I can just chill and relax and not have to think about it. And then we'll just take turns. You watch them, I watch them, you watch them. And then we get a chance to just relax, sit back, hang out, scroll through phones, like just whatever, not have to really think. So that was nice. So that's how we kind of addressed that. And there was times when we both got in the pool and we were just all playing together and floating around the lazy river. So that was cool. That was cool. But that's how we've kind of balanced that recently, of just kind of taking turns so that we both get a chance to just relax and turn off the brain for a minute.
Yeah, that's what I've always had a trouble, like just being kind of OCD on things, you know what I mean? That it's always like, how do you like get to a state where you can relax, and let the kids play and do it.
And it's hard, especially at the age that your kids are and having 3 of them. You've got 3 kids under 3. So it's not like just let them run off and go play, where my kids are like 5 and 8. It's like they can go play over there for a little while. They can go on the water slide 50 times, and there's 2 other like lifeguard people watching them. Like, I'm not overly concerned about that, so you'll get there. That portion of it will get easier.
Now, what do you guys do when you pack out going to the hotels?
That's a struggle. Because like you said, like you feel like you have to bring all the stuff, and it changes from, when you, a lot of the parents listening right now probably have smaller infants and toddlers where they're still in strollers or car seats or bringing pack and plays, and like, you just have to carry all this crap when you travel or go on vacation, or you're staying even just like an overnight in a hotel because you have to go travel to somewhere for Christmas and see your family, and you're just lugging all this crap. And some of that just changes. So it goes from, car seats and strollers and pack and plays to like everything else that kids need. Like now my kids are all bringing their own suitcase full of stuff, and they've got all these outfits, and they just need stuff. Entertainment is just a different form of entertainment they start bringing. They got their iPads and they've got, all this different stuff, and it's just like, holy crap. And you just balance it, with like what you think is okay for them to bring, and like, okay, this is just too much stuff. We're not bringing all this to go somewhere for a night or whatever. But yeah.
Did y'all hit up the parkway out there?
Disney? Yeah, we went to Magic Kingdom for a day, and that was cool. So what's interesting about, like, as I talked about before, we go to Orlando quite a bit, and the first time we went, it was like an all-out. I think it was Cameron's like 4th birthday or something, and we went like several days to the parks, and we did like all the different parks all at one go. and it was so overwhelming. It was the most stressful. Like, Cameron had a blast. We did the Bippity Boppity Boutique, and it was just like ridiculous blowout
I have
birthday
no clue
thing.
what that is.
Yeah, well, they go get made up like a princess in Cinderella's castle, and like all the like women in there that are doing it are all dressed up like princesses, and they get their hair done, their makeup done, they pick out a dress and like walk out of there like the most amazing experience of it. Disney World's very much for little girls. But anyway, so Bippity Boppity Boutique, they get the full like princess treatment. And there's different stages of that too. Like, you don't have to spend all the money. It's like you can just get their hair done or just do the makeup or whatever, but you can get like the full package. And we didn't even do the full package, but like there you go, pictures and this and that. Like, it's crazy. But it's a really cool experience for a little girl for sure. Goes back to like that magical thing with like Santa and everything else. Like, it's just magic for them. So it's a feel good for the parents too, because it's like you can see all the excitement that they have. But anyways, as time goes on, we've been more and more times. Each time gets a little easier because the kids are more and more used to it. The newness is kind of wore off. Not everybody doesn't feel like they have to do everything, like they're going to miss out, because we've kind of done it all. Now it's just like, oh, let's ride Splash Mountain again. Or if you don't get to ride this one ride, it's not the end of the world because we've ridden it before. At this point, they're not like trying to go into every single little gift shop and buy the princess toy doll thing because they've already got it, or they just don't care anymore. Yeah. So, things evolve. It gets easier, changes. The other things get harder.
Still always have to say no to them.
Saying no is probably the worst part about Disney. That takes the fun. Like, nobody wants to hear no. Yeah. And as soon as you have to start telling your kids no all the time, it takes the fun out of it. They're upset because they're not getting what they want. They're crying, and then you're combating this screaming, crying kid, and you're just having to, you want to like just stick to your guns. Like, I told you no. No means no. We're not doing it. Yeah. I'm not buying you a $13 balloon. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Of course, they're upset. It just kind of gets crazy. But I think I'm most thankful that it's getting easier because I'm having to say no less to them. One, they're getting older, so they understand no. But when they're like 3 and 5 and 4 and 6, and it's like no, and it's, or somebody gets this and the other one wanted that, and then and then they're just, it's just kind of crazy. But no is it's tough. It's tough for sure. And then I got to the point, and this is here's something that's interesting. I got to the point where the first couple times we went, I was just like, the first time we went, it was like the first time, and I was like, I'm gonna give the girls this crazy experience, and like we just did Disney World. I was like, holy buckets, I'm going to pay for that for the rest of my life. Like, this credit card bill's never going to end. And then the second time, after I realized how much money we spent the first time, I was like, nope, not doing that. Nope. And that just resulted in a bunch of upset kids. And the whole trip was just stressful and not fun. And then I think the time we went after that, I was a little bit more lenient because I didn't want to deal with the screaming and crying. But it's still, we had those moments of no. And then I even told Kurt this before he went. And Kurt and his wife, actually, they own a company called Double Your WDW. And if you follow us on Instagram and stuff, you've seen me post about it before. They have like a Disney planning website and workbooks, and to help you, it's like a guide to Disney World. It's awesome. So anyways, I was telling Kurt this story one time before they were going, and he was like, oh man, what's Disney been like for you? And they were trying to get some information for their website. And I was like, man, I went from a mentality of like saying no because it just, everything gets to be so expensive, to like, screw it. I'm just here to put smiles on faces. Like, let's just have fun and roll with the punches. But then there's a balance. So this is where this is the interesting part. There's a balance between saying no and just saying yes to everything. Yeah. Because then it's like saying no, you're the bad guy. Saying yes to everything just ruins your kid. Think that they just get everything they want. So there's an interesting dynamic of trying to find that balance of like, you're allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do that. So now that my kids are a little bit older, we give them like a daily allowance. Like, hey, you have $20 a day to like, for whatever, it's pulling a number out, but like, it's just like, you got $20. So my kids are old enough now, they understand math and they're starting to understand money and all these things. So it's like, okay, well that's $6. And she's like, so I have $14 left. I'm like, yep. So now she's starting to get that. So now she's much more thoughtful about what she gets. I'm like, well, that's $16. You know, she's like, so only have $4 after this? I'm like, yeah. She's like, never mind, I don't want that one. And I'm like, okay. All right. So, yeah, it's been interesting, but trying to find that balance between yes and no is hard, because when they come home from vacation, they still are in that I can get anything I want.
It's like spending a little too long at maybe the grandparents. You're like, and we do not give Coca-Cola at 5:00 when we're trying to go to bed.
I don't give Coca-Cola at all, ever.
Never do that.
But we definitely
You know what's a little surprising? Like, you don't like the grandparents. I've experienced this. Gatorade. Thankfully, none of my kids. We destroyed the older cousin on that one. They're like, oh yeah, here's a Gatorade. Yeah, it's like 42 grams of sugar. I'm like, you might as well have just given her a Coke.
Right.
It just wound up. Went to bed at like 1 a.m. that night. You know, just like, oh.
That's tough. It's tough.
You just got to get them out of vacation mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
So your kids get really, like, now that you've been several times, so they're a little more, obviously, combat, like, out the gate, do they just, you get to Disney, was it like open the door and, like, run to the park?
It used to be.
Yeah.
And now, you know.
That leash and just yank them back.
Yeah, leash, yeah. We should really do a leash.
What's your opinion on leashes?
Leashes, I used to be the guy that was like, you put your kids on a leash, really? This is before I had kids. Who puts their kids on a leash, you know? And then I had kids. And then I took them to Disney World. It's like, somebody give me a leash for my kid.
Exactly.
Anybody? Do you guys sell leashes? No, sir. We do you need an umbrella? Poncho? It rains every day at Disney, so they have rain gear, but they don't have leashes. We'll see now with the VR cruisers, they're so obsessed with that thing that they just like want to sit in the cruiser and get pulled around and be super spoiled all day.
So princesses in Disney World getting pushed around by.
Yeah, well, so here's the problem with the VR cruiser in Disney is that they are changing their rules as of like today. Actually, May 1st goes into effect. So if you're listening to this after May 1st, don't try to bring your VR cruiser into Disney. But from what I read and understand, you won't be able to bring the VR cruiser into Disney after May 1st. They're changing all the rules. They're like no pull behind wagons, which is already on the rule list currently, but they were still allowing it. But they're also regulating the size of strollers and a bunch of other stuff that they're putting into effect. So, and people are really pissed because it's basically forcing everybody to rent a stroller from Disney, and their stroller sucks. It's like this hard plastic fiberglass thing that sucks. It might as well be like a grocery cart. They're just terrible. They suck. But definitely you want something to push your kid around in because as many of you probably know, when you have like a 5-year-old, like after 30 minutes, they're done walking and then you're carrying them. And that sucks. And they're like, my feet hurt. I'm tired. My legs. Or like my kids will just like, Cameron not so much, but Kendall, the younger one, she'll just like pass out for 30 minutes while we are walking across the park or standing in line for a ride or something. Like, oh, she's passed out. Like, if you didn't have something to roll them around in, you'd be carrying that kid, and that's not fun. So definitely have either find something that you can pull through the park, rent the stroller. Even though the stroller sucks, it's definitely better than not having it at all.
Right.
And it's a good way to like carry extra stuff with you. If you are bringing, an umbrella or ponchos or something, like I'll take my, obviously the Daypack 3.0 is huge. I take that all the time, but sometimes it's nice to like just get it off your shoulders and like set it on top of your thing and roll it and whatever. And they do have stroller parking everywhere in the parks, which is nice.
They
have like dedicated parking areas for the stroller. A lot of them are attended by like a Disney person, so there'll be like a roped off area and you like pull it in there. It's like a parking lot basically, but for strollers. So it's interesting. Like that blew my mind the first time. I was like, they got stroller parking?
It's like here's your valet ticket for your stroller.
Not even. You just have to hope that no one goes in there and just walks away with yours, which is scary. And I'm sure that happens. We've gotten plenty of emails from customers who are like, oh, my bag got stolen at Disney World, and that sucks.
Because it's such a good-looking bag.
Good-looking bag. But leashes, back to your question about leashes. You guys let us know. We've had a lot of people reach out and say, hey, you guys should do some sort of a leash thing. And we've never really pursued it. I've thought about it, and I've got some mock-ups of things and some ideas in my head. But if that's something that you think you're interested in or think we should do, I'd be really curious to know. So, like, leave us a comment wherever you're listening to this on your thoughts on, like, a leash for kids. And I don't know. Like, we'd probably do it with some sort of, like, dual purpose, or, like, it wouldn't look like a normal, like, leash for kids. It'd be cool. It'd be tactical baby gear. Very much tactical baby gear. Like, something... It'd be unique for sure. Let us know about that.
Well, how else do you keep track of your kids? Because, like, again, my kids are still very much in the I need to just monitor them when we're in public stage. So, like,
Right.
do you do anything to?
No, I don't. But so here I got some pro tips for you guys. Keeping track of your kids. One of the things that I suggest you guys do when you're traveling, and I don't care if you're going to Disney World or you're traveling through an airport or you're just in like a mall and you're away from like anywhere. If you're away from home, take a picture of your child or children every morning. That way, if they do get lost or they run off because you don't have a leash on them and you have the kid that just sprints across parking lots like mine does, you can identify them and you can show a picture to security or to people and say, hey, look, I'm looking for my son. He ran off. And you can show them, this is what he looks like. This is what he's wearing today. He's wearing this black shirt and these khaki shorts or whatever the case is. Because there's a lot of times where you're like, there's a lot. I could not tell you right now. I was with my daughter all morning. I couldn't tell you what she's wearing right now. No clue. Mm-hmm. Except for I did post it on Instagram stories this morning, so I could look back and probably find out. But super good pro tip of like, if you're out in these public places and doing things, like take a picture of kids in the morning so you have reference later if God forbid they get lost, and you can have a better description of what you're looking for. Because looking for a 5-year-old blonde-haired boy or a little blonde girl wearing clothes isn't very descriptive. Like black shirt, khaki shorts, blonde hair, blue hat, whatever the case is. So that's a solid pro tip. Another one I saw in an airport one time, and I haven't done this because I haven't really traveled through airports a lot, but this guy, he looked like a single dad with a couple of kids, 2 or 3 kids, and a ton of stuff, and he was like by himself. But the kids, he'd like just taken like a white t-shirt and thrown it on over their clothes, and on the back of the shirt it said, "If I'm lost, call my daddy," and had his phone number. And I thought that was the smartest thing I'd ever seen, because I was like, God, that's so smart.
I mean, sometimes you just don't have enough hands.
You just don't, and it only takes like the one curious kid that saw something shiny suitcase in the corner to like go walking off, and all of a sudden you're in this crowded airport and everybody's moving, and you're like, where did little Johnny go?
That is the worst feeling,
dude.
I mean, even at your own home, like now that my kids open up the doors, you hear that, and you're like, oh wait.
Or when things
where did they go?
The
you're
other
like,
scary thought is like they're having fun and playing, and then all of a sudden it's quiet in the house. Like a silent house full of kids is dangerous. Like so that means something bad is going down, and they should go check on it.
Yeah. But I know that is just that emptiness feeling. Like, I mean, again, it doesn't matter if you're in an airport, if you're again at your home, especially just because like mine just figured out how to like unlock the door, so they'll. You tell them the rules, and they don't do it now, but you know what I mean? Like,
kids.
Next thing you know, you find them in the garage, and you're like, well, thank goodness the garage door was closed. But like, where'd you go? Like, I literally
stops.
I bent down to pick up a wrapper, and the next thing you know, you're like, you're in the garage. Yeah.
It only takes a split second, and that's why it's
crazy how fast
so scary, and I preach a lot. The most terrifying thing that for me, especially when my kids were younger, with them drowning like in a bathtub. That's a huge percentage of children die in bathtubs because they're like left unattended, but literally for like 3.5. Like it doesn't take much. Like and I can't even like. It could be like you're giving your kid a bath and they're just playing with some bath toy, and you're like, oh, I'll just go throw this in the trash in the other room or something, and you come back and like your kid's drowned. Like it only takes a second. So there's a lot of like, I am so freaked out with water and my kids, and even playing in the pool like still freaks me out. And knowing they're like, very capable, but like
we started
oh my God,
swimming lessons already so the twins started it last year, so I guess they were 2. We started doing swim lessons for them. We're gonna start the youngest one
Anders, yeah.
soon, because I've seen some crazy videos where like the kids learn to like float on their back
Yeah,
and stuff. They fall
like
in and they're
little
like
tiny
15
kids.
months old.
Yeah,
And obviously living in Hilton Head, South Carolina, like
we're around
we're
the
around
water.
the beach, we're around pools
Your in-laws
everywhere.
have a pool.
Yeah, so it's just I don't know if it's just one of those.
It's a good thing to learn.
Just teach them how to get to the edge, like what I mean. So
exactly.
yeah, water freaks me out in that regards.
Ugh.
That's parenting.
Because it ain't like falling and bumping your head. Like you only get kind of one chance there. Like you know. And then we did a CPR class refresher not too long ago. I highly suggest all of you go do a CPR class. If you don't know about CPR, or like you can drown, but like you just need to keep blood and oxygen pumping through the brain. Like that's what's going to save anybody. So go take a CPR class and learn how to pump. Yeah,
most fire departments offered for free. So
yeah, go check that out.
Call your local fire department.
We went through the local fire department recently just to like I wanted to go through it through the fire department and kind of see how they were teaching it and just kind of something that I could relay a message to these guys of like what you might expect from them. So definitely reach out to like your local fire department, like Alex said, because
I mean, obviously it changes for an infant to a toddler to
not only that, but
adult.
like they'll teach you like choking, like if the kid's choking or an adult's choking, Heimlich maneuvers and what to do and what not to do. Go take a CPR class if you have kids at all, or even not. Like you can
or grandparents too.
Yeah,
because if you're gonna leave your kids with your grandparents, like. All you need is a little chip. The youngest one, like the twins they chewed the food and they never had this one. The youngest one, it's like he's almost doing it just to like cut my life short. I swear. Like he'll be chewing on something that's like a blueberry, and all of a sudden, I'm just kidding, Dad. And then like, smiles at me. I'm like, all right. So my heart stopped for 2 seconds, and then like 2 seconds later, he'll put something else in his mouth and do it again. I'm like. You're just trying to kill me,
right? And
he's perfectly fine. We had like one scare once, but thankfully, obviously, nothing went wrong. But it was just like that. I think it was that one scare. I was like, and I've done a CPR class before when we had the twins with, through hospital. You got you do a lot of those like prep courses, and I was like, we need a refresher here. Like, all right, it's been like a year, and just it never hurts. Practice makes perfect, right? So just the more knowledge you can get, especially with kids' safety, just go do it. Do it
100%. There was something else. Oh, I want to follow up. So let's we started the podcast and I told you guys a story about my daughter being threatened at school.
Okay.
And then I told you I was going to meet with the teacher. I met with the teacher. Everything seems cool. I can't go into a lot of details about it per se, but I do feel comfortable with the way that the school handled it, especially with the way the teacher handled it. Her teacher is awesome. Like her teacher hasn't won Teacher of the Year I think multiple times for like no reason. Her teacher's amazing. I think the world of her teacher, and I have a lot of respect for her. But I feel comfortable with the way everything's been taken care of. I have some things I'm doing on my own of just kind of keeping an eye on some things. But I did follow up in the school, like they document this, and it goes on this kid's record, and that way, if there's ever any other incidents moving forward, like that gets documented because again, they're in second grade. But what happens if it's again in fourth grade or again in sixth grade and then eighth grade? And like, okay, there's a problem. Like this kid needs to be dealt with or whatever. But so it's on his record. They're keeping track of it and they can look back at it and get details and things like that. So I just wanted to follow up for you guys that might have been wanting to know how that's kind of played out. So that's sort of the situation at this point. After my meeting with the teacher. And then I did get a follow-up phone call with the school administration, and they explained some things as well. So I feel comfortable with the way our school is dealing with it. So here's a fun fact, too. Alongside of that, because this was like a shooting threat, and I was talking to the teacher about...
You might want to explain...
Okay, so recap. If this is your first time listening, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. My daughter was threatened at school. So a kid had like chewed his grilled cheese sandwich into the shape of a gun and told my daughter, he was like, "I'm going to kill you." And apparently it was kind of like a not so playful type threat. And it was taken very seriously by everybody. And like my daughter told an adult and another girl at the table told an adult. So like it was serious enough of like a holy crap, did he just say that for like several kids to say something? And So that was like I had gotten this note from the teacher that day. My daughter came home crying and all that kind of stuff. So then I scheduled a meeting with the teacher to like find out more information. She's like, "We don't have to meet, but if you want," and I was like, "No, I got questions. Yeah. I need to know what's going on." And it's really interesting. And I talked about this in the previous podcast, but like, you talk about, oh, it's a grilled cheese. What's the harm in that? And I said the same thing. I was like, there's probably no harm in it. It's probably playful. Boys will be boys. It's, whatever. But then all of a sudden, when you're the parent and that's your child with a threat, it changes everything. It goes from like, oh, like, why is everybody overreacting to this sandwich? But then you're like, whoa, this could be serious. Like, things are crazy these days. Things are happening. Yeah. And so anyways, that's... well,
it just needs to be addressed.
It needs to be addressed. And as a parent, you're like, I got questions. I was like, as I said before, like, does this kid have access to firearms? Could he actually show up? Just like, I got plenty of guns. There's a wall of them behind me. Yeah. But they're locked up in a safe. They're unloaded. There's safe conditions. Like my kids do not have just access to a firearm like that. And I got plenty of them around. Yeah. But they're locked up and they're safe. And I'm all about firearm safety in the home. And I love guns. And I love to shoot guns and everything else. But anyways, does this kid's parents love guns too? And are they just sitting out on the table where he could slip one in his backpack and bring it to school? Those are the questions that you just start to like think through your head of like, oh.
Like I said, final destination, as I kind of call it. No matter the situation, like your mind as a parent, like that, it's like they're born instantly switches to everything. They're eating a grilled cheese and then they're going to choke on the grilled cheese.
And then they're going to die. Like it's the craziest.
Again, chew your food. But I'm glad to hear everything got squared away.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. Yeah. I feel pretty good about it. And thankfully, my daughter's old enough to know who the kids are in her class. I know who it is. I know who to keep an eye on. Mm-hmm. The school can't tell me, but my daughter can. Guys, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I don't want to get this too long. I want to try to keep these episodes a little bit shorter, easier to digest. So I really appreciate you listening this far. If you did, leave us some comments down below. Oh, the other thing I want to try to do with you guys that are listening is some Q&A stuff. I want to involve you guys more. And so what I want you to do is, we might figure out a better format for this. I just kind of thought of this a little bit ago as I was talking of what I want to do some Q&A stuff. So I don't know if the best place for you guys to leave a question is in the comments. I think that would be good because I think other people can chime in and see questions that might prompt other questions. But you guys can always shoot us questions about this or suggestions for a topic on the podcast. Email Travis, and that's going to be media@tacticalbabygear.com. And he'll make sure to kind of like get that in the queue or say, hey guys, we had a great email from somebody saying we should talk about this or that or whatever. So, and maybe we can read those questions, read them out, or we'll do maybe we can do Facebook Live or I don't know. We'll figure out a good format, but we want to involve you guys as much as possible. This isn't just like a Beav and Alex show. This is a TBG community thing. So we want to involve you guys. We want to get other people on the show, as I've mentioned before. Maybe we can do some call-in stuff. Anyways, that's that. So leave some comments there. Shoot us an email to media@tacticalbabygear.com if you have anything on that. And then, was there anything else I wanted to mention? I guess not.
I think we're at a good place.
Cool. Guys, thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next episode. Peace.